Greetings from Helsinki. Let's talk about Typeform and Google Ads enhanced conversion tracking. A pretty complex subject, but there are two ways we can approach tracking Google Ads enhanced conversions with Typeform. So enhanced conversions, as a little refresher, I have written about the basic principles of Google Ads enhanced conversion tracking in this blog post. I will link it to the description. But the basic idea is that normal conversion, we use the Google Click ID, we use cookies. So there's a Google Click ID. For the ad click, we store the Google Click ID with the conversion linker tag, and then the cookies connects the ad click, the Google ad click with the conversion. The enhanced Google Ads conversion tracking, we don't only rely on cookies, we also tell that, hey, John Smith, who has this crazy long phone number and whose email is, johnsmith@gmail.com. Sorry for the John Smith, just an example. This person converted. So this is the enhanced part of the conversion tracking. It works on top of the classic Google Click ID cookie-based conversion tracking, but it makes Google Ads conversion tracking more accurate. All right, so the question is, how do we get the email, the phone number, or possibly the address? And here is where things get a little complicated before they get very complicated. The usual, I want to say, like, not the best, but the easy and usually most accurate, simple way to track Typeform conversions for Google Ads is using this custom HTML JavaScript listener, where we listen for a message coming in from the Typeform iframe into our website that has the Google Tag Manager. So when we hear this message from the Typeform iframe, which is closed for whatever reason, we then trigger a data layer push, like this Typeform iframe submitted successfully, and then we trigger our conversions. But the problem is that with this method, we only get the form ID and the embed ID. So in a perfect world, we would have, email, and we would have the phone, and we could just pop these into our data layer and then track our Google Ads enhanced conversions for Typeform the easy way. So because the iframe message version does not work, we have two other options at this moment. Number one, we can use a redirect. So we can make an ending here. So we can use redirect to a URL if you have a paid plan. And then into the URL, we can add the form fields. So for example, here I've added the CT conversion tracking email and the conversion tracking phone parameters, and that this way we can get back to our website, and at least we have some way to get this data. However, this method, before you start implementing, has quite heavy drawbacks, which require pretty complicated workarounds, and I will explain those. For this demo video, I'm actually gonna do something that's gonna make you squeal a little bit. I'm gonna use Typeform. So before you hit pause and exit this video, listen up. The reason I'm gonna use Typeform is that it works exactly the same as Typeform. So if I make a setup for Typeform, it will work for Typeform. No edits needed. So I don't want to pay like $100 just to make this video, although it'll probably pay itself back. So what I mean by this is, in Typeform and Typeform, we can make a thank you page redirection, and we can add the parameters like conversion tracking email as the email address and the conversion tracking phone as the phone number, just the same as we would do for our Typeform. So for the purposes of this demo, the URL where I land after submitting the form will be exactly the same, and Google Tag Manager doesn't know which tool we're using. So let's jump into it. All right, so I'm gonna now make this booking, and let's pretend that this is the Typeform. Now, keep your eyes on the URL because you will see a quick flash with the email and the phone number, and I will soon explain why the flash happens. So here you will see my email and the phone number for 0.2 seconds, and then they will disappear. So let's... Okay, so you saw them here, and then they disappeared. So now let's take a look at our Google Tag Assistant. So here I have this redirect thank you trigger. So I have this Typeform redirection listener. It's a bunch of JavaScript. It's pretty intense, but basically what it does is it will look for the submission ID in the URL, then get the phone number and the email, etc. So this is kind of the first step. So with this, we can then trigger our data layer custom trigger event, and we can use this to fire our conversion tags. So here we have Google Ads conversion for Typeform. Again, pretend it's a Typeform, not a Jotform. And when we click show more, we can see the CSS provided enhanced conversion value, which is now populated with the email and the phone number. All right, so this is kind of the basic logic. The script that I have, unfortunately, I cannot share that with you in this video. And the reason is I have to pay my rent and I have to eat. And this is what I do for a living. I have worked on this for several years and I can't quite share it. So I will make a product, or you can hire me, or you can do your own using ChatGPT or whatever. But now let's talk about some of the issues we still need to fix because we are not done. All right, so number one, the problem with the redirection for conversion tracking purposes is this. I can refresh the page. Maybe there's an error. And actually a common scenario in iPhone Safari, I believe, when you reopen the Safari after a break, it's gonna reload the last page, causing duplicate conversions. And this is a problem. For one client, this happened so much that I needed to do a workaround for this to keep the conversion data reliable. So for the setup that I'm using here is we store the submission ID from the URL in our local storage, and then we compare if we have already seen this ID. So there's the submission ID, and we only send conversions for the first page load. But if the local storage has, let's see if we have, so we have the submission ID, the 958. If we already have this, then we don't send the conversions. All right, so some kind of workaround is usually needed to prevent duplicates. All right, that's issue number one. Issue number two is bad referrers or bad traffic sources. So if we go to our console here, and we take a look at what was the referrer, the previous website. Well, because we were redirected from the Jotform iframe, the referrer is going to be this, jotform.com or something typeform.com. And the problem is that Google Analytics will often mistake this for a traffic source. So when you see, hey, where did we get all these bookings? Sometimes it's going to say, typeform.com, which obviously was only a detour and not the original traffic source. Your original traffic source was Google Organic, Google Ads, Meta Ads, Instagram, YouTube, a blog that mentioned your company, whatever, but it's definitely not typeform.com. So we want to fix this in Google Analytics. And the way I approach this is by adding this ignore referrer variable. So I have a custom JavaScript that's going to check, is the previous website that, referred us, is that typeform.com, or does it contain typeform.com? And if so, then I add the ignore referrer parameter. But if we go, let's say I click the about page, here we can see ignore referrer is false because we were not redirected from Typeform or jotform.com. All right, so the ignore referrer is something that needs to be handled. There's also a way to list unwanted referrals in Google Analytics itself. So I think this could also work. However, I prefer to do that in Google Tag Manager. But yeah, you could actually do it within Google Analytics as well. So this is problem number 2. Problem number 3, the personally identifiable information in Google Analytics and in Metapixel. So personal information is info like email addresses, mobile phone numbers, etc. And our page URLs or titles cannot include this. So the URL, it tracks every page URL and page title that is viewed, and personal information is often sent in these URLs, but these must be free of personal information. They cannot contain this. Otherwise, I think you're breaking the law or something. So we need to clean up the URL, but here is the kind of challenging part. We need the email and we need the phone number for our Google Ads enhanced conversion tracking, but we must not send them to Google Analytics or Metapixel. So for Google Analytics, it's a little bit easier. We can use a custom JavaScript thing, again, tons of custom JavaScript, to look for the email and the phone and other personal information and just clean them up. And we can send a custom URL. We can choose which URL Google Analytics should get. So here, this is the first step. Consent initialization is the first one. And here you can see we still have the full name and we have this personal information, which we cannot send to Google Analytics or Metapixel. But here, by the initialization phase, you see they have disappeared. So this is the reason you saw the flash. So they were there only temporarily, so we could get those variable values for our Google Ads enhanced conversion tracking for the Typeform conversion, but we cleaned them up so we can send Google Analytics tag free of personal information. So here, when we take a look at our Google tag, where you remember the ignore referrer is true, so this is fixed, but also the personal information has been cleaned up from the URL. So if we take a look at the Google Analytics debug view, where we can in real time see, again, sorry for the jotform instead of typeform, but it's the same. We take a look at the typeform thank you event, which we sent to Google Analytics for, and you can clearly see that the URL does not have any personal information because we cleaned that up. All right, so here is where things get even more hard. All right, the Metapixel. So just like Google Analytics, Meta does not want personal information in the URL. I just Googled this, found a couple of blog posts with these examples. So if in the URL, if you have the email or the phone number for the Typeform enhanced conversions, you will be in trouble. Now, the problem is that the Facebook pixel does not have a way for us to override the URL. So ideally, we would have something like URL equals, the clean URL or something like this. But as far as I know, there is no way to do that. It's always going to use the real URL no matter what. So the only solution to the meta pixel or Facebook pixel personal information, the potentially violating personal information, is we actually change our URL like you saw in the beginning of the video. So we remember the original URL before cleanup, and then we manually change the URL without actually loading or reloading the page. And we must, of course, do this before we fire our Facebook pixel tags. So here, if we take a look at the pixel location, you can see that it's also free of personal information. I'm still considering what is the best order for this. Here, an approach I'm thinking about is to make a new window data layer push with a new event initialization after personal information cleanup, because the tag sequencing may be a little bit easier this way. Another approach could be that we take the Facebook pixel. Well, let's use this one, for example, and we would use tag sequencing to clean up the URL. So fire a tag before Facebook pixel fires, and we would do this URL cleaning thing here. But yeah, these are some details which I'm still kind of figuring out what is the best approach. All right, so that was pretty intense. If you want to implement it, hopefully this will give you the ideas on what to ask ChatGPT or someone. You can, of course, hire me to do it, and I will think of making a setup. So I'm thinking of turning this into a product, because this is so complicated and difficult to make by yourself. So I'm thinking maybe I will just let people buy the pre-built Google Tag Manager setup, because this will work for any website and any Typeform, and all of these issues have been solved. And yeah, again, you can get in touch with me if you need help. But hopefully this will kind of give you the idea on how to approach, with the URL and the parameters, the duplicate prevention, the unique ID, the unwanted referrers, the personal information, and then the enhanced conversions for Google Ads. All right, method 2, where we do not use Google Tag Manager, but we actually use the Google Ads API. So this is another solution that I'm working on at the moment, and I'm now implementing the API version for 2 of my clients. So if you watch this video and it's been a few weeks, I probably already have a really good solution to the Google Ads API solution. But the advantages are that we have 24 hours to send the conversion event. Well, usually we only need 2 seconds, because we want to do it immediately. But the benefits are that we don't need to worry about any of this stuff. We don't need to make a custom thank you page and redirect. We don't need to even pay for the the Typeform plan that allows us to do the redirects. And we definitely don't need to worry about the duplicates, personal information, or unwanted referrers, or bad traffic sources, or the violating data in the Facebook pixel. So that's why I am very interested in this approach. So the idea is that we use the Google Ads API to send the information into Google Ads instead of Google Tag Manager. And yeah, this needs a custom setup. So for the API Google Ads enhanced conversions, with the Typeform. The questions are if we get the ID for the submission and kind of what is the best technical approach to create these automations, ideally without doing our custom coding. Also, another related thing I'll also mention is that ideally we would also have the Google Click ID added to Typeform itself. So it's a little bit of a question how much value does the enhanced conversions bring if we do have the conversion Google Click ID, but this is recommended that if we can get it, we should. So a related subject I'll also explain is how do we get the Google Click ID and stuff like UTM parameters or any other custom information into Typeform. So we can add hidden fields and we can add UTM parameters to Typeform, and we can add information like the source, Google, UTM medium, cost per click, campaign summer sale, UTM term, running shoes, add variant, and the Google Click ID into Typeform. So the mistake a lot of people do is that they let Typeform inherit these from the parent page. So if you run ads and then you have the UTM campaign, then Typeform is usually able to get them from the parent page URL and populate them. But the problem is that if people navigate in any way, they click somewhere, then it's gonna disappear. So when they go back, those UTM parameters will disappear. So we need to store them as a cookie or in local storage and then create a dynamic Typeform iframe with those variables. So I will demonstrate that. So again, I'm going to use a different tool, forgive me, but it works just the same. So the principles for the iframe conversion tracking is often very similar. So here I made a fake Google ad just in my console by editing the link destination to be my website and to have all these UTM parameters, UTM source, medium, Google Click ID, etc. So let's click on this fake Google ad. So we land on our website and we know the referrer, the previous website, that's google.com. And we know all this information in the URL, including the Google Click ID, which is useful for offline conversion tracking. I'll try to keep this video less than 5 hours long, but well, maybe I will explain this too. All right, but we can store these variables in our local storage using JavaScript, so we remember them. So let's say I head to the About page, and then I go to the Shop page, then I go to the Contact page, and although they of course disappeared from the URL, they are still safely stored in our local storage. Like you can see the Google Click ID here, and the cost per click, UTM source. I'm even tracking the pages that are visited, which is an experimental thing that I'm doing. So now, again, imagine this is Typeform, this is Tally, but it works just the same for pre-population. So here I'm gonna submit, pretend this is Typeform. So for this form submission, we get all these hidden fields. So the visited pass, we were in homepage for 35 seconds, blah, blah, blah. First landing page URL was the homepage. Source was Google, cost per click, all this stuff. Also the Google Click ID, which we could then use for the enhanced conversion tracking using the API. So these hidden fields in Tally works just the same as these hidden fields in Typeform. And the pre-population is very similar. All right, I'm going to end the video here. these are the two main approaches for Google Ads, Typeform, enhanced conversion tracking. Very complicated. All right. So the reason that I made this video is I have gotten a lot of questions about the Typeform Google Ads enhanced conversions, just two today. So I wanted to dig into it. And most people have thought that it is impossible. And for some time, I thought maybe it is. But there are two ways. They are just very complicated. So if you are a developer, then you can perhaps use these principles to implement it yourself. Just use the redirect or the API version. If you're a marketer, maybe you can use ChatGPT, but you can always just get in touch with me. And also, if you would be interested in a product where all this would be handled for you, you would just import one file into your Google Tag Manager. Here, import container, and it would work. Let me know, then I will consider making something like that because it would be cheaper than hiring me. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. Again, sorry I can't do a step-by-step tutorial. It would be a too intense tutorial with all the custom coding. But yeah, thanks for watching, and you can get in touch with me through my website. Thanks.